Hey everybody, Brandon here. I just wanted to create a video this time to give you a little bit of background of myself and what got me into this painting thing and how all this came about. So my first hobby, really lifelong hobby I guess you'd say, has been fishing. I've been fishing for 35 plus years probably, and I've been fly fishing for most of that time too. But I really started concentrating on fly fishing about 20 years ago. And I was guiding for some other shops in North Carolina and Tennessee, and then I started my own fly shop close to 10 years ago. Here is the front of my fly shop that I opened. This is in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So now I've got a nice little BB Art Gallery sign there that I've added, and a little sticker in my window because I did turn the back into my little mini art gallery. But this is my fly shop and knife store that I've got. Again, this is like my first hobby that I've been doing for years and years and years. So I got that started partly because my wife and I started having some kids and didn't want to plunk the kids in daycare. So I was like, I could open my own shop and I can bring my kids to work with me. But I say all that just to tell you this. My initial intrigue, I guess, with painting was painting some of the places that I fish. I really liked some of the scenery, the mountain streams and the lakes. And, you know, of course, as a kid, I grew up watching some Bob Ross on TV, right? So I saw this guy painting mountain streams and lakes, and I kind of thought at the time, hey, it'd be kind of cool to do that, but I never really did it. So over the course of about 20 years, I would occasionally threaten that, hey, I might start this painting thing and see if I can do it. But I never really pulled the trigger until about a year and a half ago. And I just, you know, one day said, hey, I think I'm going to give this thing a go. And I found a starter kit online that was on sale that had, you know, paints, easels, brushes, the whole 9 yards, and just said, okay, I'm going to do it. And so early on, I'm telling you, those first couple of canvases were straight up Bob Ross specials. You know, it was oil paints, wet on wet technique, painting the way he painted because I didn't really know anything else. But I graduated off of that pretty quick. I'd say within the first 3 months I started experimenting around with some other techniques. I moved over to acrylic paints because I was doing some paintings where I was looking at some photos. I did one for my mom of a dandelion that she had a picture of she wanted painted, and then I did some of these Star Wars paintings that I was looking at a source photo, and I just found that with acrylic, since it dried a lot faster, I could put the paint down, it would dry quickly, and I could put other layers on top of it and do detailed work with acrylics just a whole lot easier for me. So I moved away from that wet-on-wet oil painting technique pretty quick, and now I've kind of gotten back to where I do a little bit of both. I use acrylics a lot for sure. I'll use oil paints when it's beneficial for what I'm doing. So if I got to create color fades like a sunset in the sky or anything where I know I want to blend the colors really well, I use oil paints because it fades the colors a lot better than what acrylics does for me. But a lot of my detailed work I still use acrylics. And in running a fly shop, I did some fly fishing related paintings. So I did a series of fish here. There's the brown trout and a largemouth bass, and I did some flies. There's my rainbow trout and my brook trout. I did a series of flies here for the fly shop that I've been selling some prints of. But I turned the back of my shop into my mini art gallery. You see my little sign there that says Art This Way. So the back of my shop here is a little mini art gallery where most of my paintings are up front here in the corner. My painting spot setup really is right here. I've just got a tabletop easel here I'm about to start a painting on, and my lights, computer sitting there. I set up a couple of lamps like that to the side when I'm painting. There's one on the top. So I'll show you a little bit of what I've got in my gallery currently. This is a painting that I did that I'm calling October in Jones Gap because it was literally a photo taken in Jones Gap State Park here in South Carolina in the month of October. My wife took a picture, which I'll show you. And this was the painting that I did from that photo. So that's one that I've got currently in my gallery. This painting over here is actually one that I submitted to an online contest that was done by a website that was an online knife art competition, believe it or not. So being in a store where I sell knives too, I said, hey, that gives me an idea. I can paint something. The only rules were it had to feature a knife, so I came up with an idea of the old Western farm scene here with a barn with the American flag on it, and I've got a Case sod buster, if you know what one of those are, stuck in a fence post there. Actually got runner-up in that little competition, so that was kind of cool for me. Gave me some exposure, and that's the only time at this point I've entered a painting of mine in any kind of contest, but I may try some more of that later. Here is a painting that I call Casting at Dusk. It's literally just a brainstorm in my head of images of a guy standing in the river right as the sun is falling behind the mountains there in the background. So a lot of interesting colors in there, and that was my first real attempt at a larger canvas. That's a 24 by 36, and a lot of the stuff I'm doing obviously is wildlife. I do a lot of birds. I like the way they work and come out, and I've been selling a handful of birds, a lot of hummingbirds and some other things. Here's some winter cardinals. This was my first attempt at cardinals that I did recently, with a winter scene with a male and female cardinal. This painting I did is of the 12th hole of Augusta National at the Masters, and I've actually had to do about 3 of these that were requests that I have sold. And here's some more of my bird stuff. This is a ruby-throated hummingbird I did recently. There is an American robin. I wanted to try one of those since I see those in the yard all the time. Up here I have my eagle. I call that one the perch, of an eagle that's coming to land on a branch there. Eagles seem to be popular, so it was a large bird. I wanted to give it a go. That was my first painting of an eagle. Here's another recent ruby-throated hummingbird that I just finished, which was actually my first attempt at filming a painting, so you may have seen that one up there. If not, it's on the YouTube channel here. You can check that out. This was my first attempt at a white-tailed deer. So that's my deer painting. And it turned out pretty good. I was happy with the results of that. I have a few things down here on the floor a little bit different because that is an all palette knife painting. I did not use any brushes at all on that. That's actually a sunset scene that I took on my drive home one day on the road that I live on. I'll try to pop that photo up. That was the source photo of that sunset, and I did that painting with all palette knife and acrylics because I wanted to see how acrylics work with a palette knife. And then I did another one here, all palette knife with oil paints. So I wanted to see the differences in how the oil paint behaved with the palette knife versus the acrylics. And then here's another thing that I've got here in the gallery. This is a dog that I used to have, and I decided to do a painting of that dog because I get a lot of my dog commissions based off of the fact that I'm sitting here painting someone's dog, and then someone else walks in and sees it and says, "Hey, I'd be interested in you painting my dog." So I did this one just to leave down here at my gallery all the time. More of an advertisement than anything, to be honest with you. This is the Angel Oak down near Charleston in South Carolina, the 500-year-old oak tree. I wanted to do a painting of a tree just to get a little bit better at painting a tree. I figured, you know, if you're going to paint a tree, might as well paint a famous one, right? So there is the Angel Oak. There's a little bit of a closer look detail on that I did with some of the greenery coming off the limbs, etc. That right there is one of the largest paintings that I have done so far. That's a pretty sizable one. Here's some of my Star Wars stuff that I did, acrylics, looking at source photos. There's a nice little Death Star with Star Destroyer coming in on it. There is BB-8 and everybody's friend Yoda. And then my R2-D2. So again, these were all done looking at source photos with acrylics. Some of the first acrylic work that I did looking at a source photo, just trying to figure out, hey, can I pull this off and look at something and paint it. There's a little closer view of that. So that's a look around at my little art studio and gallery I have here in the back of my shop now. I did paint those fly fishing related paintings obviously because, like I said, I was running a fly shop, and I was able to make t-shirts out of it, which I wanted to do. Everything has been trial and error from this point. I didn't take any schooling or classing for art, and never really, I think I attempted one painting when I was in high school. Never touched a brush since. So I basically just blob some stuff on the canvas and see if it looks the way I want it to look, and if it don't, I try again. And I've watched several other folks' YouTube channels, so you can learn some technique off of that, which is one of the reasons why I thought I would start doing this myself. And you know, the things that I'm painting, I'm getting the results that I like, you know, for the most part. Now every now and then I'll try to paint something and I don't get it quite looking the way I want it to, so I'm like, yeah, that wasn't my best effort, and so maybe I try again. But once I get a painting to look the way I want it to look, then I figure, I mean, hey, that's all that really matters. So how I get there, or my process, or not knowing what I'm doing, or not knowing what colors I should be using, and how to achieve those things, as long as it ends up looking the way I want it to look, I don't think really all that matters. So you can follow along with me in this journey here, and I will, you know, show you some of my techniques and paintings and how I'm doing things, and show you some of the stuff that I have learned in the short period of time I've been doing it. Maybe it'll be beneficial for you. Maybe you'll just enjoy sitting back and watching somebody paint something. Okay, so that's about it. Hopefully that gives you a little better idea of how I got where I'm at now and what I've got going on here. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to see some more of what I got going on, give me a thumbs up and a like. Subscribe to the channel. You'll get some notifications when I got new stuff coming in. That'll be a big help to me. Feel free to comment on anything you want, and I will do my best to scroll through those and comment on stuff that I think needs to be commented on. So until next time, we'll see you.